certificate of deposit or $20 with your $10,000 CD. Why wait to enjoy great CD rates? At Security Federal, you can get your first interest payment instantly. You can open up your account during the day and celebrate that night. Instant interest only at Security Federal.
Folks, it's a proven fact for over 80 years now, nobody else does it better than Badcock. Nobody has over $60 million in inventory with over 6,000 items to choose from. Nobody but Badcock does their own financing and gives you our famous triple guarantee. The manufacturer, the W.S. Badcock Corporation, and me, Eddie Hart. Nobody gives you this Lazy Boy rocker recliner for $298 or lets you buy a bedding foundation at regular price and get the mattress, regardless of size, for half price. Nobody does it better than Badcock Home Furnishing Center.
1985 Buicks, your year to make the big switch to Nelson Buick. We're burning car prices, making new 85 Buicks more affordable. Get price-burning deals on brand new Skylarks, Centuries, Skyhawks, Regals, Electras, and LeSabres, and the all-new exciting 85 Buick Somerset. Car buyers, you do not have to wait until closeout time next year to get the best Buick price. We're making price-burning deals right from the beginning of the 85 model year. Nelson, Buick headquarters for the Gulf Coast, downtown Panama City.
Finally tonight, the year's about up. The big lighted ball is about to fall in the Big Apple, signifying the beginning of a brand new year. The tradition of dropping the ball began 75 years ago, but this year will be special since the building at #1 Times Square, where the ball is dropped from, will not be there next year. But supporters of the tradition say they'll find another building to drop the ball from. Well, that's been our show here at 6 o'clock. Thank you very much for joining us. Stay tuned right now. The Year in Review, News Center 13, will take you across the Panhandle for all the top stories of 1984. And on behalf of everyone here at News Center 13, I'd like to wish you all a happy New Year's Eve and a very happy New Year. Thanks for watching. Good night.
Are 5 good reasons why it pays you to call and take advantage of this money-saving offer from TV Guide.
First, order TV Guide right now and you'll be guaranteed the lowest price available.
Second, you can pay for your subscription in 3 easy monthly payments.
And here's the third good reason to subscribe to America's all-time favorite television magazine. Now TV Guide is better than ever,
including your favorites on cable and pay TV. And here's the 4th good reason to call and order TV Guide today. Week after week, you'll get exclusive interviews and fascinating features, including the spicy, outspoken insider section.
Then, number 5, you'll enjoy the convenience of having TV Guide home delivered.
So call now, 800-345-6789. Order 30 weeks of TV Guide today and pay in 3 low monthly installments of just $5.75 each. 800-345-6789. Toll free, 800-345-6789.
It's good to be here. I got a drunk joke for you. Here we go. There was this guy. He was so drunk that he lost his car. That's how drunk he was.
Do you think that alcohol abuse is funny? It's responsible for enormous physical and psychological and financial suffering. It destroys the health, happiness, and security of countless families. 28,000 people died last year as a direct result of alcoholism. 1 child out of 5 already has a drinking problem. Most of us living here in Florida's Panhandle know someone who has suffered as a result of alcohol abuse. Fortunately, there is treatment. For help, call your local Alcoholics Anonymous, hospital, mental health center, your doctor or clergyman, or check your telephone directory.
It's a punchline, get it? He lost his car. He's so drunk. It's funny.
There is nothing funny about alcohol abuse.
Best news ever celebration at your Renault Jeep dealer. Celebrating the best sales year ever for Renault and Jeep combined. With price rollbacks on award-winning Renault Alliance sedan and sporty Renault Encore. See America's lowest price convertible and take advantage of factory-to-dealer incentives on Jeep Cherokee and luxurious Jeep Wagoneer. We will do whatever it takes to sell 20,000 vehicles by January 7th.
Take full advantage of the celebration at Buzz Leonard Motors in Panama City.
Happy New Year from WMBB.
I've got just 2 weeks, and then I become the late J.D. Hogg.
Are you kidding?
Watch The Dukes of Hazzard weekdays at 3:30 right here on Channel 13.
You're viewing WMBB-TV, Panama City.
U Center 13 presents 1984, the year in review. With tonight's program, News Director Laura Shea Hardy and anchor producer Ann Wilcox.
Good evening and welcome to the 1984 edition of the Year in Review. Tonight we will highlight significant events that have occurred in the Panhandle over the past year. It has been a year filled with politics, celebration, heartbreaks, and tragedies.
But our top story of 1984, the election of a president. Ronald Reagan successfully retained the nation's top office. Reagan took a landslide victory over Democratic presidential hopeful Walter Mondale. The race for the White House in 1984 was historically significant because, for the first time, American voters were able to cast their ballot for a black presidential contender. While the Reverend Jesse Jackson fell short of capturing enough votes for the Democratic nomination, he was able to open the door for additional black candidates to vie for the post in the future. And America's first female vice presidential candidate was announced at a passionate Democratic National Convention. New York Congresswoman Geraldine Ferraro was selected as Mondale's running mate. Similar historic political events also occurred in Jackson County, when voters there elected their first female county commissioner, Gloria Moreland, while Marietta voters elected their first black commissioner, the Reverend J.H. Davis.
1984 will also be remembered as the unofficial year of the child. Florida led the nation in recognizing the importance of the plight of the nation's missing children. In May, Governor Bob Graham signed into law 2 bills that help provide much-needed protection for the state's children. One created a Missing Children Information Center within the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, while the other required criminal background checks for those applying for teacher certification in Florida. Both statutes were initiated by the 1981 disappearance of a 6-year-old South Florida child, Adam Walsh. Here in Bay County, shocking statistics revealed that over 300 local children are reported missing each year. And while most of them are runaways, the figures still represent the magnitude of the problem. To help assist families and law enforcement agencies in locating those missing children, a weekly program was initiated here at News Center 13 using missing children's photographs on the air in hopes those children can be reunited with their families.
Larche, Florida also led the nation in the number of death penalty executions carried out during the year. 8 Florida killers were put to death for their crimes. Almost half of the executions carried out in the nation in 1984 occurred here in Florida. The execution sparked protest both at Florida State Prison near Stark and at the state capitol in Tallahassee.
This past year was also marked by a number of homicides in Bay County. Area law enforcement officials report a total of 4 murders in 1984. That number reflects a marked decrease over 1983, when 7 homicides were reported. Several of the 1983 cases went to trial during this year. News Center 13's Chris Garrett is standing by in the newsroom. Chris?
Larche, 1984 was a year filled with emotion from the courtroom, beginning in January with the first-degree murder trial of a Bay County teenager. Timothy Kirkland was sentenced to life in prison for the brutal tire iron killing of Judy Kelly. Kelly's bloody body had been found on a deserted road in April of 1983. It took a 6-man, 6-woman jury just 50 minutes to recommend a life sentence to Kirkland. Kirkland will be in his early 40s before he becomes eligible for release. Just 4 months later, another Bay County resident was sentenced to life in prison, this time for a shooting death. 28-year-old Terry Stutler was found guilty of the first-degree murder of Dennis Merkel in September of last year. In late spring, 30-year-old Marie Williams was tried for the fatal shooting of Willie Pyton in November of 1983 in his Sherman Avenue home. Williams testified on her own behalf, tearfully telling the jury she shot Pyton out of self-defense. The Panama City woman was found guilty of second-degree murder. After several delays, the first-degree murder trial of 26-year-old Floyd Crow got underway in late August. Crow was found guilty of the November 1983 death of Cloyd Blankenship. A verdict of not guilty was delivered by a Bay County Circuit Court jury in mid-November in the first-degree murder trial of Theodore Ford. Ford was found innocent of the June 18th pistol slaying of Howard Smothers, and the year in court wrapped up with the second trial of Larry Garganis. The 31-year-old man was charged with the shooting death of his wife and another man back in 1981 at a local convenience store. He was convicted of the crimes in 1982, but the Florida Supreme Court ordered a retrial. In his second trial, Garganis was found guilty on 2 counts of first-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted first-degree murder. 2 men have yet to go to trial for 2 separate murders this year. 25-year-old David Leppard is accused of the June killing of Panama City psychiatrist Hamil Abdul Amin. Also awaiting trial is Henry Whitfield for the November lounge shooting of Darrell Goodwin. One 1984 murder still remains a mystery, though, the killing of Panama City bail bondsman Booker T. Lewis. I'm Chris Garrett reporting.
Thank you, Chris. Bay County lawmen were surprised in late October when one of the first-degree murder suspects, David Leppard, who is charged with the murder of Jamal Abdullah Al-Amin, along with 2 fellow inmates, Thomas Sparkman and Frankie Bass, overpowered a correctional officer and escaped from the Bay County jail. That escape prompted one of the most intense manhunts in recent years in Bay County. The trio was found shortly after daylight the following day after being spotted by a local truck driver. Within minutes, the escapees had been taken back into custody and returned to the jail, facing additional charges of escape. That escape resulted in an investigation by the Department of Corrections, a probe which led to tighter security measures at the county jail. Larche?
Several significant events also occurred in the Tri-County area. 2 widely publicized murder trials, plus the cleanup to the now-defunct Sap Battery Salvaging Plant, a site that has been listed by the EPA as an area of critical concern. News Center 13's Tri-County Bureau Chief Wayne May is standing by the newsroom. Wayne, what's the status of the Sap site now?
Larche, the cleanup measures at the Sap site lasted most of the summer and cost $1.7 million. 11,000 tons of contaminated soil and sludge were removed, and more work is planned once a long-range study is completed. After some area wells were found polluted with heavy metals, health officials tested over 1,500 residents for lead poisoning. More than 100 of the results were suspicious, and more tests are planned. Violent crime also attracted attention. Most recently, 16-year-old Becky Zuber was sentenced to life in prison for the shotgun slaying of her father. 18-year-old Jerry Clenny allegedly fired the fatal shots. He'll be tried in January after the first attempt ended in a mistrial. A Moultrie, Georgia man was also sentenced to life, this time in Washington County. 25-year-old Edward Dewitt was convicted in the shooting death of another Georgia man. The violence apparently erupted during an argument over Dewitt's girlfriend. And the trial of one murder suspect has been postponed indefinitely. 29-year-old Emil Collins allegedly went on a shooting spree that left one man dead and another seriously wounded. But psychiatrists say he's incompetent to stand trial, and he's been committed to a state institution. In the most sensational case, 36-year-old Judy Lauren was convicted of masterminding the execution-style slaying of her husband, Chipley used car dealer Buddy Cummings. She was sentenced to life in prison. The man who confessed to the crime and who implicated Lauren, 38-year-old Wes Briggs, also received a life sentence after he pled guilty. And finally, 1984 proved that public officials are not above the law. Suspended Washington County Commissioner Lindsey Corbin was convicted of tampering with the mileage of a used car. He served 3 months in jail and paid a $3,000 fine, but did not lose his right to hold public office. Corbin is slated to appear before a state Senate committee in February in an effort to get his old job back. Larche?
Thanks, Wayne. We're going to take a break right now. When we come back, we'll take a look at the heavy spring floods of 1984.
Flooding that almost spelled disaster for area oystermen, so don't go away. There's more to come.
Hi, folks. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Old Tiger got a new car, and he thinks everybody ought to have one. We're making it easy. Just listen to this. There's an old Southern saying, if you want the winter to pass in a hurry, sign a 90-day note. Now, Chevrolet has an exclusive plan with GMAC. You can buy a new Chevette, Camaro, Celebrity, Cavalier, or S10 pickup and pay no interest or payments until March the 20th, springtime. How about that? Folks, we have 300 new cars and trucks to select from. Start the new year off right. See how easy we are to trade with.
Cook the best from Winn-Dixie. WD brand U.S. Choice Center Cut Chuck Roast is a low 99 cents a pound.
We're right for you.
Premium grade fresh fryer leg quarters or wings are a red hot 39 cents a pound.
We're right.
Save on Astor coffee, too. At Winn-Dixie, a pound bag is only $1.69.
We're right for you.
And check our extra low price for a 4-roll package of Northern bathroom tissue, just 79 cents.
Winn-Dixie, we're right for you.
This New Year's Day only, Fohan Furniture's entire stock goes on the block with price cuts sure to please. Celebrate the arrival of 1985 from 9 a.m. till 3 p.m. and save hundreds of dollars. This gorgeous 4-piece bedroom suite is on sale for a low $396. Ring in the new year with this handsome 3-piece wall unit, unbelievably priced at $444. 1985 will arrive in style with this beautiful sofa, love seat, and chair. All 3 pieces now just $5.99. 6 fantastic hours, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. for you to save big money during the New Year's Day only sale at Fohan's Furniture.
The Apalachicola River has gone through a number of improvements in the past few years. Millions of dollars have been spent in dredge and rock relocation projects. However, in February, one of the most intense projects undertaken in recent history by the Army Corps of Engineers was completed. A $1.8 million rock relocation project was finalized near Sneads in Jackson County. The project was designed to remove outcroppings in the riverbed to enable year-round navigation along the waterway. With the completion of this project, shippers are now able to transport goods to northern ports in Alabama and Georgia. On the environmental side, the State Department of Environmental Regulation in October designated the 59-mile stretch of the upper Apalachicola River as one of Florida's outstanding waters. This means the state will now have tighter control over industrial and recreational use of the river due to strict state standards for water quality. Larche?
And Dan, speaking of rivers, the controversy over the removal of the Dead Lakes Dam came to a head in June when the Florida legislature passed a bill leading to the removal of the dam. That action came in the wake of a straw ballot in Guff and Calhoun counties indicating the vast majority of residents wanted the dam removed. News Center 13's Mike Victor has been following that story throughout the year. Mike?
Larche, the controversy over the removal of the Dead Lakes Dam began to simmer late last year, but by February of this year, the debate began to boil. Proponents of removal of the dam, led by Gulf County Clerk of the Circuit Court, Jerry Gates, launched a successful campaign aimed to convince residents of both Gulf and Calhoun counties that the dam was causing the Dead Lakes to die. It is, according to Gates, a lake on the decline. Gates pointed to studies indicating that fish populations in the Dead Lakes were dwindling. The reason, according to Gates, is that the dam prevents fish from moving into the lakes from the Apalachicola River. In addition, Gates claimed that silt from the Chipola River was accumulating upriver from the dam, also adding to the decline.
The evidence from the Game and Fish Department, Department of Natural Resources, and other environmental agencies in the state of Florida have shown that the dam, since its construction, has caused a great deal of harm to the lake.
Opponents of the removal, however, feel that such action would adversely affect their rights as property owners. They say the dam should stay, fearing a severe drop in water levels would lower property values, plus deny them access to the lakes. On March 14th, voters in both Gulf and Calhoun counties were given the opportunity to voice their opinions on the removal issue, and in both counties it was unanimous. The Dead Lakes should be removed. Their voices were heard all the way in Tallahassee, for in early June, legislation spearheaded by Representative James Harold Thompson of Quincy providing for the removal of the dam was approved. But that was only one hurdle for proponents to clear. Now several state and federal agencies are preparing to conduct studies and public hearings to analyze the impact of the removal. But many lakeside residents and businesses do not want the dam removed.
If the dam is totally removed, I would have nothing but a mud flat out here for approximately 200, 300 feet. That would totally do away with the waterfront hookups.
Ironically, landowners around the lake are just beginning to become more vocal about the dam's removal. They're looking for stumbling blocks and delay tactics to prevent it, and it may be late in 1985 before the dam is removed, if in fact it ever does occur.
Thanks, Mike. Just as in years past, weather played an important role in the Panhandle area in 1984. During the year, we've seen our share of heavy rains and damaging winds. As most of you may remember, 1984 began with a bang as last year's record low temperatures carried into 1984. But Bob Peterman says it wasn't all that bad. Right, Bob?
And we had a pretty good year as far as weather's concerned. First, there were only 4 hurricanes in 1984. Diane, Hortense, Josephine, and Klaus. And none of them touched Florida, so we're pretty lucky. Now, in our area, the 2 worst things that happened included tornadic winds back on March 20th. A waterspout moved ashore near downtown Panama City, causing several $1,000s in damage to the Best Western Motel. But the day everyone remembers is April 3rd. Almost 11 inches of rain washed out bridges and roads, closed schools and businesses, and caused $1.5 million in damages. The Risotto Beach Bridge was demolished, and it was several months before the ground dried out enough to support a new one. Folks living in low areas, especially around Deer Point Lake, were hit pretty hard. Many homes were flooded, and a controversy arose over the lake's drawdown procedures. Drainage problems also were involved, as you might expect from 11 inches of rain. The damage wasn't restricted to Bay County. Jackson, Holmes, and Washington counties were also hard hit, receiving up to 9 inches of rain that day, but we eventually dried out, and the rest of the year was pretty much normal.
Thanks, Bob. While that wet weather posed a mere inconvenience for most of us, in Franklin County, the heavy rainfall forced the closing of the productive Apalachicola Bay. Over 4,000 Franklin County oystermen found themselves out of work for over 4 weeks after the Department of Natural Resources closed the bays. In April, volunteer agencies distributed food to over 2,000 families in Franklin County. In Bay County, the industry was also adversely affected by the bay closings. State funds were distributed to area oystermen for an oyster relocation project to help ease the economic crisis brought about by the bay closings. The bays reopened in late April. Ann?
Larche fire crippled a major industry in Gulf County during the past year when Raphael Fisheries was destroyed in mid-October. The $5.5 million facility, which housed over 3 million pounds of seafood products, was listed as a total loss. Another fire in Gulf County claimed the lives of a 23-year-old woman and her 5-year-old daughter. The two lost their lives while trying to escape the flames to safety from a 2-story residential structure at St. Joe Beach. And a spectacular fire in Jackson County lit up the skies around the city of Marianna. The 2-story wood frame dwelling was also listed as a total loss. And Panama City Beach lost one of its landmarks to fire in 1984. The Hill Supermarket, one of the oldest supermarkets on the beach, was destroyed in early September. Owners of both Hill Supermarket and the Raphael Fisheries say they will rebuild.
And 1984 also saw a marked increase in the number of traffic fatalities in the Panhandle. Rapid growth and an influx of tourists to the South Walton County area resulted in an abnormally high fatality rate. In fact, law enforcement officials became so concerned that additional officers were ordered to patrol that area's roadways. News Center 13's Rod Whiting has more. Rod?
Larche stated plainly, the Highway Patrol says the problem of fatal accidents in South Walton County is very serious. Some areas have shown a 400% increase in fatalities.
The most recent figures show 25 people have lost their lives in traffic accidents in Walton County in 1984. What is alarming is the fact that nearly half of those deaths were recorded in the area south of Freeport. The Highway Patrol says for an area of that size, that's an extremely high number. The rate of increase in fatalities was slow but steady a couple of years ago. In 1983, 5 traffic deaths were recorded in South Walton. Since then, the Highway Patrol says the number of deaths have been increasing at an incredible rate. While this stretch of Highway 98 has become more traveled by tourists and local residents alike, Sergeant Weiss of the Highway Patrol says most fatalities over the last year have involved residents supposedly familiar with the highway. Statistics show nationally 60% of fatal traffic accidents are alcohol-related, and unfortunately, that number holds true for South Walton County. Governor Bob Graham asked the Highway Patrol to present plans that would help cut down the number of drunk drivers. In our area, especially over the holidays, there will be added patrols on the road. Their job will be to specifically look out for intoxicated drivers. It's been predicted 86 people will lose their lives on Florida's highways through the Christmas and New Year's holidays. Hopefully, that won't come true. I'm Rod Whiting.
Thanks, Rod. There was some good news for area sports fishermen this past year when the United States Navy demolished 2 offshore test and evaluation platforms. Stage 1 and 2, located in the Gulf of Mexico off Panama City Beach, were demolished in June. The stages were built in 1967 and for almost 30 years were used to test and evaluate experimental projects for the Department of Defense. Specialty crews were flown in to supervise the demolition. They strategically placed explosives on the structure to create what is expected to be one of the most productive offshore artificial fishing reefs in the area.
A sensitive issue which developed over 2 years ago did not go away with the new year. When 1984 rolled around, Bay County officials were still searching for a place to store the county's solid waste. After heated debates over a location for a new landfill, Bay County commissioners began to seriously explore the feasibility of a solid waste resource recovery unit. It now appears as 1984 draws to a close that the resource recovery unit will become a reality, although taxpayers will no doubt be paying even higher garbage rates through 1985. And when we come back, a city celebrates its birthday.
And we'll have a final look at one of the most spectacular stories of 1984, that infamous Vernon Brawl. Stay with us because there's more to come.
You have to admit, you had a good time at the party last night.
Well, if you call watching Willie swan dive into a bowl of Swedish meatballs having fun.
I suppose this is an inopportune moment to ask for a gratuity.
Gratuity for what?
Whatever you can spare, sir.
Oh, you're cute when you're angry. And you're fat all the time.
Good food, exciting drama. This is kind of like dinner theater.
Watch The Jeffersons weekdays at 3 right here on Channel 13.
Quick Whitehead Isuzu just received a large shipment of 1985 Isuzu trucks, including gas and diesel-powered models, plus a special allocation of Trooper 2s. If you've been waiting for a better selection, now is the time to choose a new 85 Isuzu Pup and pay only $55.95, including freight. Prices are so low on Isuzu, customers drive 200 to 300 miles to take advantage of the low prices. If you've been looking for the best price on Isuzu, look no further. Quick Whitehead is the place. Get special prices and easy financing at Quick Whitehead Isuzu, Panama City.
Your 35mm camera can capture spectacular images on film, but can the place where you get your film processed capture those images on your prints? Eckerd can, because only Eckerd has UltraLab 35, which examines each shot for color and contrast, prints on high-gloss Kodak paper, sleeves your negatives, and gives you 30% larger prints. So if you own a 35mm camera, you need UltraLab 35, or you might as well use this, UltraLab 35 from Eckerd, when you're serious about 35mm.
I got just 2 weeks, and then I become the late J.D. Hawk.
Are you kidding?
Watch The Dukes of Hazzard weekdays at 3:30 right here on Channel 13.
Welcome 1985 with a visit to Gaffer's in the Panama City Mall. New Year's Day means New Year's sales and clearance are in full swing at Gaffer's in the Panama City Mall.
One of the most spectacular incidents occurred in the quiet rural community of Vernon in Washington County. What began on June the 20th as a routine Vernon City Council meeting suddenly erupted into violence. News Center 13's Wayne May was at that meeting, and he captured on videotape a bloody brawl which ensued following a discussion over the firing of the town's only police officer. Now Wayne is standing by in the newsroom. Wayne?
Well, Ann, these pictures pretty much explain what happened that night, so we'll explain what happened later. Junior Armstrong was convicted of aggravated battery and sentenced to 4 months in jail and fined $500. His son Coleman received a 6-month jail sentence for the same crime. Both men represented themselves during their trial, and they are appealing. Meanwhile, the woman who started it all, Norvell Armstrong, was suspended from office and eventually resigned. She pled guilty to battery and received a 3-month suspended sentence. And she is back on the Vernon City Council now. No one opposed her when she ran for election back in November.
Wayne, I got a question for you. As a reporter, I often found myself in compromising situations similar to this. So I want to know what was going through your mind when all of this was taking place.
Well, first I concentrated on getting the action. Then after things really got serious, I started trying to watch everyone at one time to make sure no one pulled a knife or a gun. And I still can't believe I got out of there with the tape and that no one tried to take it from me, because it was used as evidence and it was instrumental in helping to convict the Armstrongs.
Well, Wayne, it's been about 6 months since that meeting. You've been back to Vernon City Council since then. What are the council meetings like now?
Well, they're definitely a lot quieter. Newly elected council president Greg Owens is striving for progress. And by the way, former police chief Leonard Finch is suing the city in an effort to get his old job back.
Thanks, Wayne. You get our Gold Star Award for Video of the Year. And as we close out this year's program, it's only fitting that we mention a birthday. Panama City turned 75 years old during 1984. The year-long celebration was highlighted by ceremonies on March 13th, when city officials as well as former mayors gathered to honor the event. It all began back in 1909, when Panama City was a small resort community. Through the years, several significant events have caused the city's boundaries and population to expand. The creation of Tyndall Air Force Base, International Paper Company, and the ever-increasing tourism industry resulted in rapid growth for the city through the 1940s to today. And even now, that growth continues. Population figures for Panama City and Bay County reflect well over 100,000 citizens. If that trend continues, experts say the county will reach 132,000 citizens by 1994. All in all, it's been a very good year for Panama City as well as the rest of the Panhandle. The local economy has remained stable and prosperous. Building construction through 1984 set an all-time record, and indications are that 1985 will be just as prosperous.
And in closing, on behalf of the staff and management here at Channel 13, I'd like to thank you, our viewers, for your continued support through 1984, and I'd like to wish each of you a very happy and prosperous new year. Good night.
Good night.
B1050 with 208 B-Boy, L. Lincoln, J. John, about east of Nelson. We'll stop.
Supposed to be a white male, red hair, wearing earphones, active very signal 20, called in by subject from 400 block Harrison. This time he's supposed to be in 300 block Harrison.
Best news ever celebration at your Renault Jeep dealer. Celebrating the best sales year ever for Renault and Jeep combined, with price rollbacks on award-winning Renault Alliance sedans.